Deuter have been specialising in rucksacks for over 100 years now, and they know a few things about it. They make really solid, reliable packs, and also they now make kid carriers. So since the pandemic, we've seen a real boom in kid carriers because everyone's trying to get into the outdoors, whether you've got a kid or not. And so we've really seen these flying. So I thought I'd explain, because we've had way more questions than ever on kid carriers. So these are the three different ones we do from Deuter. There's a lot of similarities, so I'm going to concentrate on our best seller. This is the Kid Comfort Pro, and then I'll explain the differences. So I've used kid carriers for a while, but now my kids are a little bit older, I've had to rely on my guest appearance, Big Mouse, for some help today. He is festive all year round. So when Deuter design their kid carriers, the first thing they think about is the child, or in this case, Big Mouse, because they want safety and comfort of the kid first. And secondary, they think about the comfort and the carrying of the adult. Now, as a parent, it might be a bit cheesy to say, but the first thing we ever think about is the kids. We can cope with anything, whereas the kids, you really want to make sure they're safe and happy. Yeah, but luckily it is comfy as well. So while he's strapped in there, I just want to demonstrate something, because they do a really good test with their carriers. They actually ensure that all of them are really safe and the kid can't fall out by actually rotating it 3 or 4 times with a real weighted, not child, but dummy, probably a bit heavier than Big Mouse, just to make sure that you're not going to have any accidents. That does rely on you doing the clips up well, but these are all really clear and I'll show you how to do that. So I'll start with how the kid sits inside here as well. So one of the big advantages Deuter have over some of the other brands is this side access. Now that makes it really easy to see what's going on and make sure, especially if the kid's not happy about going in there. They're always happy once they're up, but getting in can be a bit hit and miss. You can actually see what's going on a lot clearer. So one of the things that I think is brilliant about the Deuter ones is they have really bright yellow clips. Now these are all the ones you have to make sure you pay attention to before you set off. So if it's a grey one, that's more to the comfort or sitting or whatever, but safety ones are bright yellow, so you won't forget to do them. This side access means sometimes if it was on someone's back, the other parent might be able to get it out without having to put it down, but also just means it's a bit easier to set up. So there are 4 yellow clips you have to make sure that are done up. There's the sternum strap, and then there's 2 adjustable straps that come around and hold the main torso in, and then close the whole system off on the side. Another clever thing with this system is you can actually do these straps up quite loosely, because again, the kid might be kicking off and not enjoying it, but the actual adjustment and tightening is actually down here on the side. So if it's awkward to get into there for whatever reason, this is always easy access, so you can pull it and tighten it and make sure they're nice and secure. Now, as all parents will know, kids do this frustrating thing of growing, which is very expensive and also can be quite awkward. So luckily this grows with the kid. The adjustment couldn't be easier. So the shoulder straps can literally come up and down with a Velcro tab to make sure the comfort and security is good. So also the seat can go from fairly high when they're a newborn to right down to the bottom down here with a real simple adjustment. Under the comfort sort of pillow, there's a little buckle. You can lift that and slide it right down. So that's where it'll automatically lock. There's one thing a lot of people don't know, and you can actually unthread this little loop down the bottom here if you want to extend the seat a little bit further. Now I didn't know about that for a while until a very clever Deuter rep showed me. But that really helps if you've got a taller child or just using it when they're a bit older. This will just give you that little bit of extra so they can seat right down here. The seat's actually been ergonomically designed so that there's the right amount of padding for the size of the child that's in it. So when it's sitting there, when it's young, it's got a big base for its bottom. As it gets a bit taller, it gets a bit slimmer. So it fits perfectly whatever age. So it's probably worth mentioning when you can start using these. So generally it's around 6 months or whenever the kid's head's really stable, because they do need to be able to hold themselves up well. And it's more about weight of when you should stop using it. You want to carry a child of about 22 kilograms max with an extra 2 kilograms of your stuff, which again, with kids, you have lots of stuff. So I used mine until they were nearly about 4 years old. So obviously they can walk then, but they don't always go in the right direction. You go one way like this, but when you want to get back, you want to stick them in and get them back. So that's great. Another thing you'll see on most baby carriers, especially all the Deuter ones, is you get these stirrups. Now these are for a couple of reasons. One, it's just a bit comfier for the child while sitting there and something to do with their feet so they're not just kicking you. But also this really helps keeping the legs a bit more frogged. You really want to try and keep the knees sort of level or above the hips. If they're hanging down, it can be quite bad on the hips. You might have heard about some of the front carriers like doing some damage to children's hips by just hanging too low. So this will just keep them a bit comfier and take a bit of weight off the bum. Again, as they grow older and they get lower down here, if you need to extend it, that's easily done. But also you can adjust the height, so you can actually unthread this buckle and thread it on down here so they can get really low. Simple, essential things. this can come off, so you can put it in the wash when it's got dribble or even a bit of sick on it. So that's easy to do. Another great little feature is the fact that the Pro, this one, comes with a little mirror that lives in the handy waist pocket. Now that's great because you want to see whether the kid's still got his hat on, whether they're falling asleep, check they're still there. They don't think it comes with all of them, but it does come with this one. But if you don't get one, make sure you get one because it's an essential bit of kit. All three of the carriers have this really good handy leg, so that means it can stand up. That's essential for putting the kid in. And if it falls asleep, what's great is you can actually pop it down and sit down for a little while and maybe have a quick boulder or have your lunch while the kid's still really comfy and asleep in there. When you get back to your car or packing it away, really easy to flatten the whole thing down. It goes a lot slimmer than you think. So both the Kid Comfort Pro and the Kid Comfort come with the Air Comfort back system. Now this is great for keeping moisture off your back. It gets a bit of air blowing through there on a hot day, but also the frame is really good for carrying weight and getting weight onto the hip. Now something that's really essential is the fact that it has an adjustable back length. So with a rucksack, you might get it fitted perfectly for you and you'll probably never share it. With this, you're more than likely going to be sharing it with someone else. So it's important this can fit a variety of back shapes and lengths. Again, the adjustment couldn't really be simpler. There's a big bright orange buckle that once you release, you can slide the shoulder straps down. And if it's released, you can slide them back up again. Obviously, for me, I'm putting it right at the top. So if you had adjusted your shoulder straps right to the bottom because you've got a shorter back length, you may also find that you want to adjust these tension straps because at the moment they'd be going up really quite sharply. So they've given you another buckle so you can just lower it down to a slightly lower one. And it'll make the carry much more comfortable. So the rucksacks come with really chunky, lovely hip belts. That's where most of the weight should sit as well. So this is really comfortable, very flex hip belt. When you're wearing any of these carriers, they're obviously going to be quite heavy because there's a kid in there. So what you really want to do, again like with the bigger rucksack, is when fitting it, put it on your hips first, so it's hugging the top of your hip bone really well, or wherever your lumps and bumps are that make it fit just right. Get this as tight as you can. It should be taking most of the load. Then gently pull the shoulder straps in afterwards so that they're curving nicely around the shoulders, but not pulling it back off your hips. You have an adjustable sternum strap. Now that's really important, especially if the shoulder straps are pulling off the side of your shoulders, so it keeps them nicely in the grooves there. And lastly, these tension straps. Now these are quite important. You want them taut so they're going at about 25 degrees upwards. A lot of people pull them way too tight. It pulls you in really secure, but you also get a bit of a V behind your shoulders and it can put a lot of pressure on the front of the shoulders. Now I'll concentrate on a couple of the features that are special to the Kid Comfort Pro. Like I said before, this is our best seller. It may be the heaviest at about just over 3.5 kilograms, but it's also got the most features and the kid will certainly be the most comfortable. That weight that I just mentioned doesn't really feel that bad, especially when there's a kid in there, because a lot of that is to do with how well it carries. So the more weight you've got in the system itself usually means it carries better. So the first thing you'll notice is this higher back. So that sort of makes like a bit of a throne for the kid, really comfy on the head. And they sit in there really comfortably especially when they're sleeping, their head's bouncing around. The Pro is also the only one that comes with this brilliant sort of sun shower canopy, where it just folds out from the hood, pulls right over the child and clips down at the front. I think this is really good because it's so quick to get out, because often when you need it, you don't want to be faffing around trying to find it or getting it stuck under some nappies. You want to get it out quickly because the rain's coming, or you're suddenly worried that they're just getting burnt. So the Pro also has this big dump pocket at the bottom. You get in there this little rucksack that comes with it. And this is a huge void down here. So this little rucksack that comes with it is brilliant. So obviously your partner can be carrying it if this is quite full. But if you're solo adventuring, it can actually clip to the front here, so you can actually access things really easily when you're on your own. There's a really long, huge, handy pocket here as well. Goes the whole length of the bag. So basically you should have room in here for everything you need. So I'd say that's all the main features of the Kid Comfort Pro. Let's move on to the Kid Comfort. So the Kid Comfort has nearly all the same features as the Pro. It's a little bit lighter, it's a little bit cheaper. The main thing it misses is the extra high top and the inbuilt sun canopy. The bottom pocket actually has a zip round as well, so it closes in really securely. And you can get a sunshade canopy to go over the top, which does the same job, but not quite in such a fancy sort of zip pocket. It is a little bit lighter, so it's only just over 3 kilograms. So if you were using the sunshade canopy, it would just live in the top here and just folds in really nicely and pings out. It's still very easy and accessible to do, so it just slots in the side here. And similar clips straight down at the front. You can get as an extra a rain cover, which goes over the whole of the carrier, the top, the sunshade and the carrier as well, and it'll fit all 3 of these models. So that's the Kid Comfort. Very robust, these things. Here's the lightest of the three. This is the Kid Comfort Active. So I can imagine people going for the Active, the lightest of the three, if sort of weight is your main concern. So this is noticeably lighter. Feels like you can be a bit more active in it. You do compromise a little bit of storage, but there's still huge pockets down the bottom, a nice bungee at the top here. But the mesh on the side means there's no pockets here, and you only get one hip belt pocket. But if you're traveling or taking it abroad, I mean, the pack size is brilliant, and the weight, I mean, it's really, really light. Due to the back system being quite a lot lighter than the other two, you haven't got the venting mesh, but you do have this sort of panels here, which will still pump air through while working hard. And the back system is still adjustable, but it's a slightly different system. They use a very quick fit. So when you're doing this, you have to make sure it goes through 4 of these loops at each time. So again, I would be right at the top, you can put it right down the bottom. And again, if needs be, you can adjust the tension straps here if you're on the lower setting. All 3 of the carriers come with really good, handy grab handles. Now, this is essential for me while putting it on, to like to grab the handle and slide it up my leg to stop any rocking, make sure the child's nice and level, and stick it on my back. So we have it, 3 beautifully designed, really solidly made, reassuring, safe kid carriers. Nice one, Deuter. Let's get Big Mouse off for his walk.